I stand on my parents' porch, arms loaded with carefully selected Thanksgiving gifts, the weight of tradition and expectation heavy on my shoulders. The crisp November air carries the unmistakable scent of Mom's roast turkey, and for a moment I'm transported back to simpler times before I became the family ATM. My knock echoes against the familiar red door of my childhood home. I've walked through it thousands of times, but today my stomach knots with an unfamiliar tension. Something isn't right. When the door finally opens, it's just a crack barely enough to reveal Mom's face, her expression strangely guarded. No warm welcome, no embrace. Mom? I shift the gifts in my arms, a bottle of Dad's favorite whiskey nearly slipping from my grasp. Is everything okay? That's when I hear Tyler's voice from somewhere behind her, cold and accusatory. We don't want selfish people here. The words hit me like a physical blow. I take an involuntary step back, nearly missing the edge of the porch. 6 years of sacrifice flash before my eyes in an instant. Late nights at Westbrook Partners, my phone lighting up with frantic texts from Tyler. Jess, they're going to repossess my car. Jess, the kids won't have Christmas. Jess, we're going to be evicted. Each crisis more urgent than the last, each solution coming from my dwindling savings. The $30,000 debt payment that emptied my emergency fund. 3 months of rent when he claimed his check was delayed. Private school tuition because the public schools are failing my kids. The new SUV when his old car broke down, a car I'd already paid to repair twice. Blessed to be able to help your struggling brother, Dad had said last Christmas, raising a toast while Tyler looked down modestly, playing the part of the grateful recipient rather than the entitled taker he'd become. I remember my promotion dinner 6 months ago, the one my parents reluctantly attended. Mom had barely acknowledged my new title, my corner office, the years of hard work. Instead, the conversation had immediately pivoted. That's nice, dear, she'd said, cutting off my explanation of my new responsibilities. But Tyler really needs help with the boys' summer camp fees. It would be such a shame if they couldn't go while their friends did. I'd written the check that night, watching as Tyler's face maintained the perfect balance of gratitude and martyrdom. Hannah, his wife, had never once met my eyes across the table, her silence a mystery I hadn't thought to question. Every holiday followed the same pattern. Tyler as the victim of circumstance, me as the fortunate sister blessed with stability. Never mind that I'd earned every penny through 60-hour work weeks and sacrificed my own dreams to keep his afloat. Dad emerges now behind Mom, his tall frame filling the remainder of the doorway. They're physically blocking me from entering, a visual representation of what they've been doing emotionally for years. Jessica. His voice carries that familiar tone of disappointment. Not anger, disappointment is far more effective on me. Your mother tells me you've decided to buy a new apartment. I clutch my gifts tighter. Yes. After 8 in my old place, Yet, you told your brother you couldn't help mortgage this month. Mom interrupts, her tone sharp with accusation. You could afford a new apartment, but you can't help your brother more. The hypocrisy steals my breath. They've never once questioned what Tyler does with the money. Never wondered why the emergencies never end, only escalate. I've helped for 6 years, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. I can't keep. Selfish, Tyler says again, finally stepping into view behind my parents. His face wears an expression I've never seen directed at me before, contempt, mixed with something like triumph. He knows he's won. Again. The gifts in my arms grow impossibly heavy. I've brought Dad's favorite whiskey, Mom's preferred chocolates, toys for Tyler's boys. I'd selected each one carefully, spent more than I should, and now I stand before them like a supplicant seeking entry to my own family's celebration. Tyler's smug expression is the final blow. He's not a victim, he never was. And the realization hits me with startling clarity, this isn't about money at all, it's about control. I lower my arms slowly, deliberately placing each gift on the porch. The whiskey bottle makes a solid thunk against the wooden boards. The wrapped toys form a small, festive pile. The chocolates I balance carefully on top. Jessica, don't be dramatic. Mom sighs with familiar exasperation. I straighten, searching their eyes for any sign of the love I've spent a lifetime earning through compliance and sacrifice. There's nothing, just expectation and judgment. This isn't about money, I say quietly. This is about control. The words hang in the cold November air between us. For the first time in years, I feel something close to peace as I turn and walk down the steps without another word. Behind me, no one calls my name. No one asks me to come back. I pause at the sidewalk to look back at the home where I'm no longer welcome. The perfect Thanksgiving scene from the outswarm lights, family gathered, the scent of tradition in the air. But now I see it for what it is. A beautiful illusion I can't afford anymore. The glow of holiday specials flickers across my darkened living room, casting blue shadows that dance over the untouched glass of Pinot Noir on my coffee table. I don't need to look to know it's either Mom, Dad, or Tyler not calling to apologize, but to demand explanations for my dramatic exit and selfish behavior. I take a deliberate breath and reach for the power button, holding it until the screen goes black. The sudden silence feels like the first moment of peace I've had in years. No more, I whisper to the empty room. Never again. The words settle around me with surprising weight. I expected to feel the familiar crush of guilt, the desperate need to make things right with my family at any cost. Instead, a peculiar lightness spreads through my chest relief, tangled with grief, like putting down a burden I've carried so long I'd forgotten it wasn't part of me. I lift the wine to my lips, savoring the earthy notes as I allow myself to acknowledge what I've known for months, but refuse to face. Helping Tyler wasn't helping at all. It was enabling destruction while sacrificing my own future. 3 days later, the sharp knock on my door comes just as I'm reviewing quarterly projections for a client. I know that knock 3 rapid taps followed by 2 slower ones. Tyler's signature since childhood. I open the door without greeting him, turning back toward my kitchen while he follows uninvited, bringing the scent of Dad's cologne with him. A deliberate choice, I relay a subtle psychological tactic to remind me of family. Jess, he begins, voice softened to the tone he reserves for financial requests. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't important. The boys need winter clothes, and the school's demanding tuition payment by Friday, or they'll be suspended. I notice how his gaze skips around my apartment, cataloging changes since his last visit, the new coffee maker, the framed art I treated myself to last month, calculating my resources. What happened to your raise? I ask quietly, remembering his announcement at Dad's birthday dinner. You said the promotion came with a 15% increase. His expression shifts so quickly I nearly miss its irritation flashing before settling back into practiced concern. The raise is being held up in HR. You know how these things go. But I do know how these things go. I've managed payroll systems. Corporate raises don't get held up for months. When I don't immediately move toward my purse or checkbook as I always have before, Tyler's approach changes. His shoulders square, his voice drops the gentle pretense. Look, I've got Hannah and the kids waiting in the car. Are you going to help us or not? I meet his eyes directly for what feels like the first time in years. You have a family, Tyler. Start taking care of them. His mask slips entirely then. The transformation is startling, his features hardening, voice rising as he steps toward me. After everything I've done for this family, what exactly have you done, Tyler? The question emerges calmer than I feel. Besides take. His face flushes deep red. You think you're so perfect with your fancy job and your downtown apartment? You've always thought you were better than the rest of us. I think of Aunt Sarah mentioning seeing Tyler at Morton's Steakhouse the same week he told me he couldn't pay his electric bill. Cousin Michael commenting about Tyler's new golf clubs while I was covering his car insurance. Hannah's averted eyes and tight smile whenever money was discussed. How did I miss the pattern for so long? Get out, I say quietly. Mom and Dad are right about you, Tyler spits, backing toward the door. Selfish to the core. The door slams behind him hard enough to rattle the frame. I stand motionless in my kitchen, waiting for the familiar tsunami of guilt to drown me. It doesn't come. 2 days later, a call from an unfamiliar number interrupts my morning coffee. Jessica Bennett? This is James Carter. I'm Hannah's attorney. My coffee cup freezes halfway to my lips. Hannah has an attorney? I'm handling her divorce proceedings, he explains, his voice professionally neutral. She suggested I contact you regarding some financial matters. The word divorce echoes in my head as James continues. Miss Bennett, are you aware that your brother maintained a separate bank account where he deposited much of the money you provided for family emergencies? My hands begin to shake, coffee sloshing over the rim of my cup. We've documented over $50,000 in the past 3 years alone. James continues. Primarily spent on gambling debts, luxury purchases, and hotel stays in Atlantic City and Las Vegas. The room seems to tilt sideways. $50,000. More than my emergency fund. More than my retirement contributions for those years. Hannah wanted you to know, James says softly. She says she can't live with the deception anymore. My phone beeps with an incoming call mom's ringtone. Of course they've already heard. Tell Hannah I'd like to talk to her, I say to James before answering my mother's call. Jessica Elizabeth Bennett. My mother begins without greeting. What have you done? Your brother is devastated, and you need to fix this immediately. The familiar pressure builds the expectation that I'll apologize, make things right, preserve the family peace at any cost. For a moment, I almost give in to the lifelong pattern. Instead, I take a deep breath. No, Mom, I won't be fixing this for him. Not anymore. I end the call and silence my phone, a peculiar calm settling over me. The isolation of standing against everyone I've loved is terrifying, but beneath the fear runs something stronger, the quiet certainty that I'm finally standing on solid ground. I see him before he sees me, Tyler, pacing the lobby of my building like a caged animal. His normally styled hair sticks up in tufts, as if he's been running his hands through it for hours. The doorman catches my eye with an apologetic grimace. Miss Bennett, your brother insisted on waiting, said it was a family emergency. Of course he did. Everything with Tyler is an emergency. I take a steadying breath, squaring my shoulders as I approach. My heels click against the marble floor, the sound echoing in the high-ceilinged space. The rhythm feels like a countdown. Tyler whirls around, his face contorting from anxious to accusatory in an instant. There you are. Do you even check your phone anymore? I've been at work, Tyler. Some of us have to be. His jaw tightens. The familiar wounded look spreads across his features, but something's different now. There's a rawness to his eyes, a desperation I haven't seen before. You need to fix what you've done to my marriage. His voice rises, sharp enough that Mrs. Coleman from 4 slows her walk to the elevator, openly staring. Lower your voice, I say, moving toward the stairwell for some privacy. What are you talking about? He follows, too close, the scent of stale coffee on his breath. Hannah's talking about leaving me. She's been meeting with a lawyer, Jess. And it started right after you stopped helping us. The stairwell door closes behind us with a heavy thud. Tyler's words bounce off the concrete walls, amplifying his accusations. That's not my responsibility, I say, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. The hell it isn't. He steps closer, finger pointing at my face. You brainwashed her. Turned her. What did you tell her? I don't back away. For the first time in years, I stand my ground against the hurricane that is my brother's anger. I haven't spoken to Hannah in months. Liar! The word explodes from him, his face reddening. She's suddenly asking about our finances, demanding to see bank statements. Where would she get those ideas if not from you? 3 residents from my floor push through the stairwell door, conversation dying as they absorb the scene before them. Tyler doesn't even notice, too consumed with his own narrative. I meet their eyes calmly. "Excuse us, please, family discussion." They hurry past, but the interruption has broken something in Tyler. He slumps against the wall, suddenly deflated. "My life is falling apart, Jess," he whispers, "and you're just watching it happen." I should feel guilty. That's my role, isn't it? To absorb his pain, fix his problems, empty my accounts for his endless needs. But all I feel is a strange, cool clarity. "Maybe," I say quietly, "your life is falling apart because of your choices, not mine." The package arrives by courier the next morning. A manila envelope with my name typed on a clean white label. No return address. Inside, I find a stack of documents meticulously organized with color-coded tabs. A note sits on top, handwritten in neat, feminine script. "Jessica, I thought you should know. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner, Hannah." I spread the contents across my kitchen table, coffee cooling beside me, forgotten. Hotel receipts from Las Vegas, Atlantic City, online gambling transactions. Credit card statements showing purchases at Gucci and Rolex, all while Tyler was telling me he couldn't pay his rent. Photos slip from between the pages. Tyler at a blackjack table. Date stamp showing the exact day he called me, panicked about the kids not having winter coats. Tyler with his arm around a woman who isn't Hannah at a casino bar. My hands shake as I turn to the final section. Hannah's notes, detailing years of deception. How she discovered Tyler's secret account. How he gaslit her when she asked questions. How he'd come home from business trips, smelling of alcohol and wearing new watches. "I didn't want to believe it," she writes. "I wanted to trust him. But I can't ignore it anymore. The kids and I deserve better. You." My phone vibrates against the table, Tyler's name flashing on the screen. The universe has impeccable timing. "What do you want?" My voice sounds strange to my own earshot. "She told you, didn't she?" The panic in his voice is audible. "Hannah sent you something." "Yes." "It's not what it looks like, Jess. I can explain everything if you just." "Las Vegas?" My voice rises despite myself. "The Rolex you bought the same week you told me your children needed winter clothes. The woman at the casino?" That's taken completely out of context. He's shouting now, scrambling. "Hannah's trying to make me look bad for the divorce. She's manipulating you." 6 years of suppressed anger bursts through the dam I've built around it. "You lied to all of us. For years. If Hannah is leaving, it's because of you." "You don't understand what it's like to struggle," he counters, voice breaking. "You've always had everything come easy. I worked 60-hour weeks while you gambled away my money. Don't you dare talk to me about struggle." "Jess, please, you're my sister. If you just loan me enough to." I hang up mid-sentence. The silence that follows feels like the first clean breath I've taken in years. "So he took approximately how much from you over the 6 years?" My financial advisor, Marissa, keeps her expression neutral, but I can see the shock in her eyes as she reviews my statements. "About $140,000, give or take." Saying the number out loud makes my stomach clench. I never added it up before. Her pen pauses over her notepad. "Miss Bennett, I've been your advisor for 3 years. Why didn't you mention these substantial withdrawals during our quarterly reviews?" Heat creeps up my neck. I considered it family support, not relevant to my financial planning. "Family support." She repeats the words carefully. "Of this magnitude, without any repayment plan, is absolutely relevant to your retirement projections." Shame washes over me. I've counseled clients about financial boundaries for years. How did I miss the exploitation happening in my own life? "I can't believe I was so blind." Marissa's expression softens. Financial manipulation within families is surprisingly common. Even financial experts aren't immune. She helps me create a recovery plan, adjustments to rebuild my emergency fund, catch up on retirement contributions, establish a timeline for the apartment renovations I've been postponing. For the first time, my financial future includes only my needs, not Tyler's constant emergencies. One more thing, Marissa says as our meeting concludes. I recommend you consult with a therapist who specializes in family dynamics. Financial recovery is only part of the equation. I realize she's right. The money is just the surface layer of what I've lost. My father's voice fills my apartment, loud even through the speakerphone. You need to fix this mess you've created. I didn't create anything, I reply, continuing to chop vegetables for my dinner. The rhythmic movement of the knife against the cutting board teases me. Your brother's children are involved, Jessica. Your own niece and nephew. My mother's voice cuts in, tearful and pleading. We're just asking you to keep the family together. That's what families do. The carrots line up in neat orange coins. I focus on their perfect symmetry as I reply. By pretending Tyler didn't lie to all of us? By ignoring his gambling addiction? He wouldn't gamble, my father insists, voice dropping to a dangerous growl. Someone is lying to you. I lay the evidence out for them, the hotel receipts, the casino photos, Hannah's documentation. Each detail met with denial, deflection, disbelief. Those could be faked, my mother argues weakly. Why would Hannah fake them? I count. Silence stretches for a moment before my father speaks again. It doesn't matter, he's your brother. You help family no matter what. The ultimatum hangs in the air between us. Choose Tyler or choose truth. I'm sorry, I say, meaning it despite everything. I can't do that anymore. Then you're not the daughter we raised, my father says, voice flat. The line goes dead. I continue chopping, each slice precise and controlled, even as tears blur my vision. The truth is finally out after years of deception. I thought cutting off my brother was the hardest part, but watching my parents choose sides has tested me in ways I never imagined. I set down the knife and look around my quiet apartment. This is the turning point, and it will change our family forever. The envelope from Aunt Margie trembles in my hands, her neat cursive spelling out my name with the careful penmanship of her generation. It's been exactly 1 month since I walked away from my parents' porch, leaving my carefully selected gifts behind like offerings to a family altar I no longer worship at. I slide my finger under the flap, pull out the single sheet of flowered stationery, and sink onto my couch as reality finally catches up to Tyler's carefully constructed house of cards. Jessica dear, Aunt Margie writes, I thought you should know Tyler, and the boys are staying with me temporarily. He's been evicted from that beautiful house. Hannah's filed for divorce and is seeking full custody. I remember what happened at Thanksgiving, and I want you to know not everyone believes his version of events. I reach for my coffee, stone cold now from sitting untouched while I've been working. The satisfaction I expected to feel never materializes. Instead, there's a hollow ache for my nephews, caught in the undertow of their father's deception. My phone buzzes with the 4th voicemail from Mom this week. I press play, steeling myself for another round of accusations. Jessica. Her voice sounds different, strained, exhausted. Your father, we need to talk to you. Please call us back. The desperation in her tone is new, replacing the self-righteous indignation of her previous messages. Dad's voice cuts in from the background. Tell her we can't keep doing this. Tell her. The message cuts off abruptly. I've heard through family channels that Tyler has turned to them for money now that my wallet is closed to him. Their retirement savings, carefully built over 40 years of my father's work at the factory, now flowing into the same black hole that swallowed my emergency fund. The phone rings again almost immediately, but it's not my parents. It's Uncle Dave, who I haven't spoken to since last 4th of July. Jessica, he says without preamble when I answer. I should have told you sooner. I've seen Tyler at the Horseshoe Casino at least twice a month for the past 2 years. Always at the high-stakes tables. My breath catches. Why did anything? A heavy sigh fills the line. Didn't want to cause family drama. Your parents were so proud of him, and you seem to have things under control in your life. The familiar justification for silence, the same reasoning that allowed Tyler's behavior to metastasize until it destroyed his marriage, his home, and his children's stability. I'm not the only one, Uncle Dave continues. Your cousin Stella saw him dropping hundreds at the dog track last summer. Marge caught him in a lie about where he was when she offered to take the boys for a weekend. We all just kept quiet. After we hang up, I sit with this new knowledge. Family members who saw the truth, but chose the comfort of silence over the discomfort of honesty. The irony is Betrayal, those holiday gatherings where Tyler was portrayed as the victim of circumstance, while behind cupped hands and knowing glances, the truth circulated like contraband. The next day, a text from Hannah appears on my phone. Can we meet for coffee? We choose a neutral location, a small cafe halfway between our homes. She arrives with dark circles under her eyes, but a straightness to her spine I've never seen before. I should have reached out years ago, she says, wrapping her hands around her mug. I was ashamed, afraid. He convinced me that speaking up would destroy the family. The boys? I ask, not knowing what else to say. Struggling. Her eyes fix on the table. They don't understand why they had to leave their home, their school, why their dad keeps making promises he doesn't keep. I think of my nephews, Jack with his science projects, Ethan with his soccer trophies, innocent casualties in a war they never fought. I can help, I hear myself say. Not like before, not without conditions, but I can help you get settled somewhere stable for the boys. Hannah's eyes meet mine, and for the first time in our 10 years of knowing each other, I see her, really see her. Thank you, she whispers. But I need to stand on my own. I wanted you to know I'm sorry for staying silent. 3 days later, Tyler shows up at Westbrook Partners, his eyes wild as he storms past reception toward my office. Family loyalty. He shouts as security escorts him from the building. After everything I've done for you. My colleagues stare, but I feel oddly calm as I close my office door and return to the client portfolio I was reviewing. Tyler's desperate display has revealed more than he intended, showing everyone that the power dynamic between us has irrevocably shifted. That night, I stand at my kitchen window, watching the city lights flicker on one by one. The weight I've carried for 6 years has lifted, leaving me lighter, but somehow more substantial. The phone doesn't ring with emergencies. No desperate texts illuminate the screen. For the first time in years, I belong completely to myself. I'm staring at my phone like it's a snake about to strike. Mom's name flashes on the screen, my first contact from her in 3 long months. 3 months of silence after a lifetime of daily calls. 3 months of rebuilding my life without the constant drain of Tyler's emergencies. My thumb hovers over the answer button. Part of me wants to let it go to voicemail, but something in the timing feels different. I take a deep breath there. Jessica? Mom's voice sounds smaller somehow, less certain than I've ever heard it. Do you have a minute to talk? The familiar defensiveness doesn't rise up this time, just a calm, steady awareness as I'm listening. I've been doing a lot of thinking, she says. A pause stretches between us, and I resist the urge to fill it. What happened at Thanksgiving? I'm sorry, The words hang in the air, unexpected and unadorned with excuses. No, but you should understand, or, if you had just helped one more time. Just a clean, clear apology. Your father wants to speak with you too, she continues. Dad's gruff voice comes on the line, clearing his throat twice before speaking. Jessica, we were wrong about the whole situation. With Tyler, with you, with everything. I sit down heavily on my kitchen stool, unprepared for this moment despite having imagined it times. We've been getting calls, Mom explains when she returns to the phone. Tyler's still trying to get money from us, making up emergencies, exactly like you said. Last week he claimed his car was repossessed. Dad interjects from what must be another extension. But Hannah called to let us know he sold it himself, for gambling money. The vindication I expected to feel doesn't come. Instead, there's a hollow sadness for what we've all lost. I'm sorry you're going through this, I say, and mean it. We should have listened to you, Mom says, her voice catching. We'd like to see you, if you're willing. Not at the house, somewhere neutral, just to talk. The invitation hangs between us. 3 months ago, I would have jumped at the chance, desperate for reconciliation at any cost. Now, I find myself weighing their words carefully. I need to think about it. I tell. Of course, Dad says quickly. Take your time. After we hang up, I stand at my window overlooking the city, watching people move through their lives below. The familiar guilt doesn't come the lifetime of feeling responsible for everyone else's happiness. Instead, I feel the weight of choice, the power of it. The next day, I sit across from Dr. Levine, my therapist of 2 months, describing the call. What are you feeling about their invitation? Confused, I admit. Part of me wants to reconnect. They're my parents. But another part is afraid of falling back into old patterns. Dr. Levine nods. What would healthy boundaries look like if you did reconnect? I consider this carefully. No more discussions about helping Tyler. No pressure to solve family problems. Respect for my decisions, even when they don't agree. The words form with surprising clarity. Those sound like reasonable boundaries, she says. The question is, are you prepared to enforce them? I realize with sudden certainty that I am. The Jessica who stood on that porch at Thanksgiving, desperate for approval, has been replaced by someone stronger. Someone who knows her worth isn't measured by how much she gives away. Yes, I tell her, I think I am. A week later, I sit at a corner table in Riverside Cafe, a neutral location I selected deliberately. I arrive early, arranging myself with care back straight, hands folded on the table, the picture of calm composure, despite the nervousness flickering just beneath the surface. When my parents enter, I'm struck by how they've aged in just 3 months. Dad's shoulders stoop slightly, Mom's face carries new lines around her mouth. They spot me and approach cautiously, as if I might flee. Thank you for meeting us, Mom says as they settle into their seats. I nod but don't immediately reach for the menu or launch into small talk. The silence stretches, uncomfortable, necessary. I've given this a lot of thought. I begin finally. If we're going to have a relationship moving forward, there are things that need to be clear. My voice is steady, surprising me with its strength. They both nod, Dad's expression unusually attentive. I will never discuss helping Tyler again. Not financially, not emotionally, not in any way. The words come out clear and firm. If you want me in your life, you need to respect that. Mom's lips press together, but she doesn't argue. Dad simply nods, his eyes holding mine with new understanding. I'm still your daughter, and I still love you both, I continue, my voice softening slightly. But I won't be used again by anyone. The silence that follows isn't angry or hurt. It's thoughtful, weighed with recognition. We understand, Dad says finally. A week later, the news comes through extended family. Tyler has moved to Arizona, claiming a fresh start. His parting shot arrives in my inbox, a rambling email blaming everyone else for his problems. I read it once, then delete it without responding. The cycle stops here. My aunt calls to tell me Hannah and the children are settling well into their new apartment. She mentions, almost casually, that Tyler hasn't paid child support, but Hannah expected this and planned accordingly. I make a note to check in with Hannah directly, not to rescue but to support. Thanksgiving approaches again, marking a full year since everything changed. After careful consideration, I invite my parents to my apartment for dinner, a simple meal. No elaborate gifts or accents. To my surprise, they accept. There's an awkwardness as they enter my space, their eyes taking in the changes' new furniture, the art on the walls chosen solely for my pleasure, but there's also tentative warmth. "You have a beautiful home," Mom says, and for once, there's no subtle comparison to what Tyler doesn't have. Dad hands me a bottle of wine, not the expensive whiskey I used to bring him, but something he chose with thought. Hannah brings the boys for dessert, their entrance changing the dynamic in unexpected ways. My parents interact with their grandchildren without the shadow of time between them. Conversations flow around topics other than problems, books, movies, my niece's science project, genuine connection emerging in the spaces where manipulation once lived. It's not perfect. There are awkward pauses, old habits that threaten to resurface. But in the imperfection, I find something real beginning to take root, the painful, healing process of building authentic relationships. As I watch my family navigate this new territory, I realize some questions don't have easy answers. Is forgiveness possible after years of being taken for granted? Perhaps. Is it worth the risk? The jury's still out. But for now, we're trying. One careful step at a time. I stand at the window of my new apartment, watching autumn leaves spiral down to the courtyard below. The morning sun bathes everything in gold, including the creamy walls I chose after 3 paint samples and absolutely no one's opinion but my own. My phone remains silent on a Sunday morning, no frantic texts, no desperate calls. 1 year. It's been 1 year since I walked away from my parents' porch, leaving the holiday gifts in a neat pile and 6 years of manipulation behind. The silence felt deafening then, now it feels like freedom. I sip my coffee, savoring both the richness and the fact that my emergency fund has finally been restored. The promotion at Westbrook came with a corner office and a team of my own people who respect my financial expertise instead of treating it like an unlimited resource to exploit. "You look different," my boss had remarked last month during my performance review, "more present." I am. Energy once drained by family drama now fuels creative solutions for clients who actually heed my advice. My therapist calls it boundaries, I call it salvation. Dr. Winters helped me navigate the guilt that threatened to drown me those first months. "You didn't cause his gambling addiction," she reminded me weekly until I could say it without flinching. The support group for families affected by gambling showed me I wasn't alone, that Tyler's manipulation followed a textbook pattern I'd been too close to recognize. On my bookshelf sits a photo of Hannah and the kids at their new apartment's housewarming. The friendship that blossomed between us surprised us both, built on honesty instead of the strained silence of our previous relationship. "I should have told you years ago," she admitted over coffee one afternoon. But Tyler made it seem like questioning him would destroy the family. It nearly did anyway, just not in the way anyone expected. My niece graduates high school next spring. The college fund I established comes with clear terms: education only, with statements sent directly to her. The look in her eyes when I explained financial independence nearly broke me. No child should understand exploitation that well. Mom and Dad visit monthly now. It was awkward at first, conversations strained without Tyler's problems as the centerpiece. Their counseling sessions have helped them understand their enabling behavior, though old habits occasionally resurface. "We're proud of you, Jessica," Dad said last week, the words still unfamiliar enough to make my throat tighten. "We should have seen what was happening." Tyler still calls occasionally, always with an emergency, always needing funds. The pattern remains so transparent it's almost comical now. "No," I tell him simply, without anger or explanation. My calm refusal no longer comes from resentment, just clarity. "Hannah says he's dating someone new. I pray she recognizes the signs I missed." Meanwhile, Hannah and the kids have bloomed in their new apartment across town. Jake made honor roll last semester. Emma joined the debate team, her confidence growing in a home without tension's shadow. Yesterday marked a full-circle moment: Thanksgiving dinner at my apartment. Mom brought her famous cranberry relish without being asked. Dad discussed books instead of problems. After dinner, Mom surprised me by asking about retirement planning options. "You've always been good with this stuff," she said, a glimmer of respect in her eyes I'd waited decades to see. "We should have listened sooner." When Hannah arrived with the children for dessert, conversation flowed without the elephant in the room consuming all the oxygen. Tyler's absence was felt but not mourned. Some people can't be helped until they help themselves. My bookshelf now holds family photographs I actually want to display, not the tense holiday portraits of yesterday, but candid moments of genuine connection. Emma helping me plant herbs on my balcony. Mom and I laughing at a cooking disaster. Dad teaching Jake how to change a tire. These new memories form the visual soundtrack of boundaries respected, not trampled. On my wall hangs a simple quote: "Boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously." It took 36 years to learn this truth. The phone rings, and I answer without checking caller ID, a small but significant victory. "Jessica, it's Mom, just calling to see how your day is going." No emergency, no manipulation, just connection. I smile, watching golden leaves continue their graceful descent outside my window. "I'm doing well," I tell her, meaning it for the first time in years. Really well. The digital clock on my microwave glows an accusatory 2:37 a.m. when voices in the kitchen startle me awake. Not the familiar sounds of my own home settling, these are hushed human whispers. I slide out of bed, my bare feet silent against hardwood floors. The hallway stretches before me, a path I know by heart even in darkness. Something's wrong. I never have visitors at this hour. The refrigerator light spills across my kitchen floor, illuminating a scene that stops my breath. Bradley hunches over my desk drawer, the one where I keep my financial documents. Monica stands beside him, her phone aimed at what I recognize as my bank statements. The betrayal is captured perfectly in that refrigerator glow. Their face is ghoulish in its light. "The account number is here," Bradley whispers, finger trailing across my personal information. Monica's camera clicks softly as she captures another image. A small gasp escapes me before I can trap it behind my teeth. Both their heads snap up, eyes wide with shock. We freeze in this terrible tableau in my doorway, them with their hands literally in my personal files. 3 days earlier, Bradley's voice had carried a practiced desperation over the phone. "Maddie, we've been evicted. We have nowhere to go." I'd gripped the phone tighter, stomach already knotting. "Again? What happened to the apartment you just moved into?" "The landlord turned out to be unreasonable," he said, the familiar excuse sliding too easily from his lips. "We're good for the money, just not on his timeline." I'd hesitated. Memories of bounced checks and midnight departures from previous residences flashing through my mind. "Bradley, I don't know. Mom and Dad already offered to help with the security deposit for a new place," he'd interrupted. "But we need somewhere to stay until it all goes through. Just a couple weeks." Later that evening, Mom's call delivered the final push. "Family takes care of family, Maddie," she'd said, her voice carrying years of unspoken expectations. "Your brother has 3 children to think about." I'd paced my living roomy sanctuary, trying to imagine it filled with Bradley's chaos. "He's been irresponsible with money since college," I'd argued. "Every time someone bails him out, nothing changes." "Their family," Mom had repeated, as if those 2 words answered everything. I'd wavered then, imagining my niece and nephews with nowhere to go. "Fine," I'd finally agreed, feeling my boundaries crumble. But with conditions. That night, I'd created a 2-page house rules document, laying out expectations about cleanliness, privacy, and respect for my space. When I'd presented it the next day, I caught the dismissive glance between Bradley and Monica, look that said they'd never intended to follow any rules I set. Their arrival had been more invasion than welcome. 3 children and 6 suitcases had transformed my orderly home into chaos within minutes. 11-year-old Lucas had rolled his eyes when I showed him the shared bedroom where the children would sleep. "We had our own rooms at our old place," he'd muttered. Monica had brushed past me, designer purse dangling from her wrist despite their supposed financial crisis. It's just temporary until we find something worthy of us, she'd whispered to Bradley, loudly enough that I'd clearly been meant to hear. I'd given them a tour, each room of my carefully organized home now under threat. My heart had physically ached when we reached my home office, my sanctuary, where I created and dreamed. The children will sleep here, I'd explained, showing them the air mattresses I'd arranged. Please make sure they respect my work equipment. That night, after everyone had settled, I'd carefully locked away my grandmother's china in a cabinet. The delicate edges of those plates had always reminded me of her strength, beautiful, but not to be underestimated. I needed her spirit then. By day 2, the pattern had emerged. Monica had approached while I worked, her voice honeyed with manipulation. Maddie, I know you said no food in the bedrooms, but Zoe's having a hard time adjusting. Just this once? That just once had multiplied hourly. By afternoon, I discovered 4-year-old Miles with my expensive art supplies, color bleeding across my carpet. Children need to express themselves, Monica had argued when I confronted her. You can't expect them to remember all these rules. Her tears had started then, right on cue. You're treating us like criminals, not family, she'd accused, voice rising dramatically. Now, in the pre-dawn darkness of my kitchen, that accusation echoes with bitter irony as they stand caught in their criminal act. Just looking for insurance papers? Bradley stammers, hastily closing the drawer. Monica's face transforms before my eyes, shock melting into something calculated and malicious. The phone with my financial information disappears into her pocket. We need to talk, I say, my voice quieter than intended but steady. Now. Morning sunlight filters through my blinds, but I've been awake for hours. Sleep abandoned me after confronting Bradley and Monica in my kitchen. Their excuse about insurance papers at 2:37 a.m. might have worked if I hadn't seen Monica photographing my bank statements. My laptop screen glows with damning evidence. Browser history from yesterday when I'd stepped out. How to claim squatters' rights in Colorado. Tenant rights without lease. How long to establish residency claim. The partially drafted email in Bradley's account, still open from their midnight snooping, confirms my worst fears. Mom and Dad, thanks for checking in. Maddie is being accommodating, just like she promised when she told us we could stay for at least 6 months while we get back on our feet. The kids are settling into their new school nicely. 6 months. My stomach twists into a familiar knot, the same sensation from childhood watching Bradley break things, then lie about it. Some patterns never change. Monica's voice drifts through the heating vent from the kitchen below. No, Jen, you should see this place, she says, voice low. She's loaded and never uses that second bedroom anyway. It was practically collecting dust before we moved in. I press my ear closer. Who cares if the kids have snacks in bed? Yesterday, she nearly had a meltdown over some stupid art supplies that probably cost $20. Meanwhile, she's got that fancy MacBook Pro sitting right there. My knees weaken. This isn't a desperate family needing shelter, it's a calculated takeover. My rarely used backup wallet is missing my emergency credit card. A quick login reveals a trail of small charges. $24.99 at a streaming service, $32.76 at a liquor store, $19.5 at a restaurant. Each small enough to fly under the radar. On Monica's Instagram, there's a photo of my living room showcasing my hand-woven New Mexico throw. Caption: Our new place while we're between mansions blessed. New beginnings. Upgrading life. The comments twist the knife. Gorgeous place. When did you buy it? That artwork is amazing. You've always had the best taste. She hasn't corrected anyone who assumed the home is hers. Worse, the artwork they're admiring is my watercolor painted during the painful months after my engagement ended. My private expression, misrepresented in Monica's counterfeit life. This isn't about family, Maddie. This is about parasites. Helen sits across from me at our corner cafe, her librarian's eyes scanning the evidence before her. Look at these charges, she continues, tapping my statement. These aren't desperate emergency purchases. This is fraud. My mother called this morning, I say. Bradley told her I'm being difficult about the children having snacks in their room. Helen's eyebrows arch. Classic manipulation make you the villain for enforcing basic respect in your own home. Mr. Jacobson mentioned seeing Bradley's car parked on our street several times in the weeks before they officially moved in. Said he was doing reconnaissance. They were planning this, Maddie. This wasn't a desperate call for help. This was a targeted operation. My phone buzzes. Noticed you seem distracted in meetings. Everything okay? Have extra office space if you need quiet work environment. First offer of sanctuary from the outside world. Document everything, Helen says, tapping her legal pad. Every rule broken, every unauthorized charge, every misrepresentation. An alert pings a loan application notification. 5 minutes of searching reveals Bradley has listed my address on 3 separate loan applications this week. My pristine credit history now hangs in the balance of his recklessness. That evening, hidden in my car in the office parking lot, I overhear Bradley and Monica through my home security app. They stand in my kitchen, unaware of the camera I installed when fixing router issues and changing the Wi-Fi password. She can't kick out family with kids, Bradley says confidently. The neighbors would think she's heartless. Monica nods, leaning against my counter with casual ownership. My cousin says if we stay 2 months, she'd need formal eviction proceedings. That's at least another 60 days where she can't touch us. The calculated nature of their words confirms everything. Never desperate, just strategic. Tears finally come, hot and unwelcome, as I sit alone. Not tears of weakness, but of rage and revelation. The sanctuary I've built through years of hard work is under siege from within. By nightfall, I've changed all passwords, secured my remaining documents at work, and created detailed documentation labeled incidents with dates, times, and descriptions of every boundary crossed. I'm printing the final page when I sense a presence. Looking up, I find Lukashi's 11-year-old frame silhouetted in my office doorway. Miss Maddie? His voice wavers, eyes darting behind him to ensure no one follows. My mom and dad had a plan before we came here. I heard them talking. The moral weight on his young shoulders is visible even in dim light. They did the same thing to Aunt Christine last year, he whispers. And suddenly, I understand I'm not their first victim. I'm just the latest in a pattern. The digital clock on my microwave reads 5:37 a.m. when my phone vibrates with another notification. 3 missed calls from my mother. 5 text messages from relatives I rarely hear from. Something has shifted overnight. My phone lights up with Aunt Cheryl's name Dad's sister, who calls maybe twice a year. I silence it, then open Facebook instead. Monica's latest post appears at the top, accompanied by a photo of me clearly taken without my knowledge. When family becomes prison, living under my dictator sister, in-law's roof, toxic family, boundaries. Beneath it, comments multiply like bacteria. My mother's call interrupts my scrolling. Madeline, Eleanor, what is going on over there? Her voice carries that familiar mixture of accusation and concern. Bradley says you've been treating them like prisoners. Before I can respond, I hear 8-year-old Zoe's voice carrying from the hallway, unnaturally loud. Mommy, are we really staying here forever like you told Grandma? You said we'd never have to leave because Aunt Maddie's too nice to make us go. I step into the hallway just in time to see Monica's sharp correction and meaningful glare in my direction. Zoe, you know that's not what I meant. The mail arrives with a thud. Among the envelopes, a credit card offer catches my eye addressed to Bradley, but with my address. Opening it reveals a platinum card application with a $25,000 limit. Then another. And another. All using my address for luxury cards. The pieces click together with sickening clarity. This isn't temporary. It never was. You're not the bad person here, Miss Harper. You're being taken advantage of. Lydia Chen, tenant rights attorney, sits across from me in her downtown office. Her confidence steadies my resolve. But they're family, I say, the words sounding hollow even to my ears. Which is precisely why they believe they can get away with it. She slides my documentation across her desk. This is excellent work. You've created a paper trail that any judge would appreciate. I've spent the past week methodically documenting every violation of my house rules, organizing time-stamped photographs and notes. My phone vibrates with a text from an unknown number. Meet me at the bus stop, without mom and dad. Lucas. 30 minutes later, my 11-year-old nephew slips a wrinkled paper into my hand. They do this a lot, he whispers. These are the other places. The paper contains 3 addresses with dates neatly printed beside them. Names I recognize: Christine, Uncle Rick, Mrs. Marjorie, family and friends who'd supposedly helped out my brother's family. Something shifts inside me, the certainty that I'm not just standing up for myself, but for everyone who came before me. Friday night's family dinner materializes exactly as I'd anticipated, an ambush disguised as reconciliation. My parents' house smells of pot roast and tension when I arrive, Helen at my side despite mom's pointed comment that this should just be family. We're just trying to understand why you can't help your brother during hard times. Dad begins, the rehearsed quality of his words painfully obvious. On cue, Monica's eyes well with tears. All we wanted was a safe place for our children. I wait for her performance to end, then calmly open my laptop and connect it to the television. I'd like to share something with everyone, I say, my voice steadier than my heartbeat. The room falls silent as I present my evidence methodically. The previous victims of their temporary housing scheme, the credit card applications in my name, the printed social media posts violating my privacy, and finally, the video of their midnight snooping through my financial documents. As the last video plays, the shocked silence around the dinner table is broken only by Grandma Whitmore's soft, "Oh my word." Helen stands, her presence solid beside me. I've watched Madeline bend over backward to accommodate them while being exploited. My phone buzzes with texts from neighbors offering security footage of Bradley coming and going during work hours. My coworkers have arranged deadline extensions. Even my boss texted, "Take the time you need. Your work matters to us." I turn to Bradley and Monica, whose faces have lost all confidence. You have 2 weeks to find new housing. This isn't about family anymore. This is about respect and boundaries. If you kick us out, everyone will know you're heartlessly evicting children. Bradley threatens, his voice lacking conviction. I meet his gaze steadily. I've already told everyone the truth, with evidence. In their expressions, I see the exact moment they realize their game is over. In my bathroom, I press my palms against the cool marble countertop, trying to stop their trembling. The confrontation left me hollow yet somehow stronger. Tears stream down my face, not from sadness, but from relief. The truth is finally out. My phone rings. Dad. I owe you an apology, Maddie, he says, his voice rough with emotion. We shouldn't have pressured you. My breath catches. You believe me? I called Rick after you left, then Christine. They confirmed everything. He sighs heavily. Your mother and we enabled this for too long. The validation washes over me like a wave. I just wanted to be respected in my own home, Dad. The next morning, I meet with Lydia again to understand my legal rights. By afternoon, the security system upgrade is installed, cameras monitoring all entrances. Mr. Jacobson agrees to watch for suspicious activity. I inform local police about potential false claims and secure my documentation in cloud storage and a safe deposit box. With each preparatory step, my confidence grows. This is my home, my sanctuary, and I will protect it. My phone chimes with a text from an unknown number. You don't know me, but I'm Christine, Bradley's cousin. I have something you need to see. A video attachment follows. I press play, and Monica's voice fills my ears. We'll be set for at least 6 months. She makes good money and is too nice to kick us out. Monica laughs, talking to someone off camera. Once we establish residency, she'll have to formally evict us. That'll buy another 60 days minimum. My heart pounds as another text arrives. There are 5 more of us. We're all ready to come forward. The conference room at Helen's office feels like a war room, with 6 people gathered around a table, covered with file folders, laptops, and coffee cups. I stand at the head, surveying the unlikely alliance I've assembled. Thank you all for coming, I say, my voice steadier than it's been in weeks. I know this isn't easy. Christine sits to my right, her fingers nervously tapping a thick manila folder labeled Harper Fraud, 2022. Her eyes meet mine with quiet determination. 2 years ago, I thought I was helping family through a rough patch, she says, opening her folder to reveal meticulously organized documentation. 3 months turned into 7. By the time they left, they'd opened 3 credit cards using my address. Cousin Rick pushes forward a credit report with highlighted sections. They used my address for a furniture rental agreement. When they disappeared without paying, the collection agency came after me. Marjorie, my mother's friend from church, adds, 9 months they stayed with me. When I finally insisted they leave, Monica told everyone at church I was throwing children onto the street. I study our timeline on Helen's whiteboard. 4 years, 6 victims, a systematically executed pattern. We're going to make sure they can't do this to anyone else, I say, distributing copies of the cease and desist letter my attorney prepared. My phone buzzes at 11:42 a.m. Security camera notification. I tap the app to see Bradley's car in my driveway, though he's supposed to be job hunting. The front door opens, and Bradley emerges with my grandmother's silverware chest. I tap the intercom feature. Bradley, please return that to the dining room. On screen, he freezes, then glances frantically around for the camera. The silverware chest goes back inside. 20 minutes later, he leaves empty-handed. 3 hours later, a group text arrives from my mother. Emergency family meeting tonight. Bradley and Monica need our support. Dad and I are hosting dinner at 6. By 4 p.m., my parents call. Nobody's coming, Mom said, confused. Even Aunt Dorothy declined. I hear my father in the background. Did you tell them Bradley and Monica would be there? My niece doesn't speak of the abuse she suffers living with my controlling sister. Monica's Facebook post appears at 2 a.m., complete with a photo of 8-year-old Zoe looking tearful. By 8 a.m., the comments section explodes. Interesting how you've forgotten your temporary stay with us 2 years ago, Christine writes, including the credit cards you opened in our names. The Wilsons have doorbell camera footage of your husband removing items from Madeline's home while she's at work, posts my neighbor. Bradley's former employer chimes in. Now I understand why company property went missing during his employment. By noon, Monica has deleted the post, but screenshots have already circulated. The local parents group has removed her after 3 previous victims shared their experiences. My kitchen fills with the aroma of lasagna I didn't cook. Helen organizes a rotation ends delivering meals during this final week before the moving deadline. Mr. Jacobson waves from his driveway as he adjusts his security camera. Just upgrading my system, he calls over cheerfully. Happens to cover your front yard now, fancy that. At work, my team silently absorbs pieces of my project load. The message is clear across every front. Madeline is not standing alone. From my bedroom window, I watch Bradley and Monica's frantic midnight packing. Their voices carry through the open garage door. I've called 17 places today, Bradley snaps at Monica. Nobody will take us with our rental history. I told you we shouldn't have skipped out on the Westview place. Mom said we could stay with them for 2 weeks, max, he adds, struggling with an overfilled suitcase. I thought this was supposed to be a vacation, 11-year-old Lucas says, confusion plain on his face. Why did you tell Grandma we would be staying for months? Monica snaps, just pack your things. The next morning, I notice the fresh hole in my hallway baseboard. Miles stands nearby, looking nervous. Mommy said to tell you I did it, he whispers. I take photographs of every damaged area, documenting what I know is their final attempt at revenge. My phone rings at dawn. It's Bradley. We need another week, he says, his voice lacking its usual confidence. The deadline stands, I reply. Look, we've made some bad decisions, he admits. The first honest words I've heard from him in years. His voice cracks. We've got nowhere to go. Monica takes the phone. Her tears sound genuine for once. We never meant for things to go this far, she says. Yet you did this to 6 different families, I respond quietly. Hours later, after they finally gone, I find a small envelope on my desk. Inside is a child's thank you note and Lucas's careful handwriting. You were nice even when my parents weren't. Beneath it lies a USB drive labeled, What They Say When You're Not Home. My hands tremble as I plug it into my computer. The screen fills with shaky footage shot by Lucas on Monica's phone. My brother and his wife sit at my kitchen table, heads bent together. "It's foolproof," Bradley says, grinning. "Once we're here 60 days, she can't just kick us out." Monica laughs, the sound chilling in its calculation. "By the time we're done, she'll be bankrupt, but we'll be set up nicely." I stare at their frozen faces on my screen, wondering, would using evidence recorded by a child against his own parents make me as manipulative as they are? Or would protecting Lucas from the consequences of exposing his family's wrongdoing make me complicit in their patterns? Either way, the final confrontation is inevitable now. The digital clock on my microwave glows 8:17 a.m. when Miles's wailing pierces the morning quiet. Not the familiar sounds of a child's tantrum, this is theatrical distress with perfect timing. I slide into the hallway as Monica emerges from the children's room, her face a mask of maternal concern that doesn't quite reach her eyes. "It's Miles," she announces, thermometer clutched in her hand like a prop. "He's burning up. We can't possibly move him today." Bradley appears behind her, moving boxes temporarily abandoned. 104.2 degrees, he says solemnly. "We should probably stay until he's better." The calculated performance unfolds with rehearsed precision. Monica pressing a damp cloth dramatically to Miles's forehead. Prescription bottles arranged prominently on the nightstand. The child's face flushed from what I suspect is vigorous rubbing rather than fever. "That's concerning," I say, my voice steady as lake water on a windless day. "I've called Dr. Richards to come check on him right away. She should be here in 20 minutes. The blood drains from Monica's face so quickly, I almost hear it rush. She exchanges a panicked glance with Bradley. "A doctor?" she stammers. "That's not necessary. I'm sure it's just a 24-hour bug." Within 15 minutes, Miles experiences a miraculous recovery. By the time the moving truck arrives, he's carrying his own backpack to the car. All traces of illness evaporated like morning dew under summer sun. Bradley blocks the doorway as I supervise their final departure, his body language shifting from defeated to threatening. "You should know," he says, voice lowered to what he imagines as intimidation. "We could sue you for emotional distress and unsafe living conditions." Monica stands beside him, phone raised to capture my reaction. "The children were exposed to cleaning chemicals. The air quality was poor. We have documentation. Plus," Bradley adds, "we'll need $2,000 for moving expenses if you want us to leave peacefully today." The thinly veiled extortion hangs between us like cigarette smoke, toxic and transparent. I say nothing, my gaze steady on Bradley's face until he shifts his weight, confidence faltering against my refusal to engage. "Before you continue, I finally say, there's something you should see." I open my laptop on the entry table, screen illuminating with Lucas's compiled recordings. The second monitor displays a video conference, where 5 faces wait in patient silence: Christine, Rick, Marjorie, and the others. "What is this?" Bradley whispers, the blood draining from his face. "This isn't just about me anymore," I say as Monica's phone drops to her side. I gesture to the dining room table where labeled folders stand in perfect alignment. "You have 3 options. 1. Leave peacefully today with a signed agreement never to return. 2. Face legal action from all victims collectively." I gesture to the screens. "Or 3. Have these recordings shared with your employers, family, and housing authorities." On the video call, my attorney nods silently. Through the window, Officer Martinez, coincidentally, chats with Mr. Jacobson across the street, his patrol car visible from our doorway. "Financial damages calculated from each household," I say, opening the first folder. "The timeline showing your pattern across 4 years. Credit checks revealing accounts opened in our names." I slide each meticulously documented folder forward. Property damage totaling $7,432 across 6 households. I place printouts of Monica's social media posts before her, and your own words about each of us. Bradley collapses onto a moving box, head in hands. "We never meant for it to go this far. Yet, you did this to 6 different families," I reply, The agreement on top includes a repayment schedule of $200 monthly until the $7,432 is paid in full. Bradley signs without reading, his signature a defeated scrawl. Monica sits at my computer, deleting social media posts one by one, as Christine counts aloud from the screen. The January post about Madeline's generosity, the February claim about our new place, the GoFundMe, using Rick's address. When she finishes, Monica places my garage door opener and house keys on the table with a hollow thunk. The children watch from the doorway, witnessing adult consequences unfold. Lucas catches my gaze and offers a slight nod that carries more wisdom than a child his age should possess. Bradley and Monica move to separate vehicles, their unified front finally fractured. "This is your fault," Monica hisses. "You said no one would compare notes." "You always took it too far," he retorts, slamming the car door. Mrs. Fleming waters her roses without looking up. The Martinez family pauses their car washing. Mr. Jacobson stands expressionless by his mailbox. The street witnesses their departure in silent judgment, as both vehicles pull away in opposite directions. In the sudden silence of my reclaimed home, I stand motionless until my phone vibrates against the table. Dad's name illuminates the screen. "Maddie?" His voice carries a familiar strain. "They've shown up at our house now. What do we do?" My hand remains steady as I sit at my desk. "I'll email you the attorney's contact information. It's time they face consequences." As I send the information, a text notification appears from a number I don't recognize. "Thank you for being brave. Lucas," Grandma's phone. The afternoon sun slants through windows that are mine alone again, illuminating dust motes that dance like tiny witnesses to the restoration of my sanctuary. Morning sunlight streams through my office windows, painting golden rectangles across the hardwood floor. 6 months since the confrontation, and I still sometimes pause to savor the silence. My sanctuary, restored. The pothos plant that nearly died during Bradley and Monica's invasion now cascades from its macrame hanger, leaves glossy and vibrant. On my monitor, the healthcare app design that earned me this quarter's Innovation Award displays in vivid color. My work had suffered during those weeks of chaos, but like this space, I've reclaimed my creative rhythm. Steam rises from grandmother's bone china teacup, no longer hidden away in locked cabinets. I run my finger along its delicate rim, remembering how I'd once feared it would become another casualty of their carelessness. My journal lies open beside my keyboard. Today's entry reads, "Boundaries aren't walls, they're foundations. Words I've come to live by." The doorbell chimes, the sound no longer filling me with dread. I move through my home with unhurried confidence, bare feet silent against the hardwood just as they were that night 6 months ago. But everything else has changed. My parents stand on the porch, Mom clutching her Apple Pure family's traditional peace offering since I was a child. Dad shifts from one foot to the other, his discomfort visible despite months of family therapy. "Come in," I say, the welcome both warm and clear, boundaried. Such a contrast to the invasion 6 months before. Now they enter by invitation, not expectation. We settle in the living room, where once Lucas had sprawled defiantly across my sofa, snacks grinding into cushions while Monica looked on indifferently. "Bradley's financial counseling seems to be helping," Mom says, her hands fidgeting with her napkin. "The divorce papers are finalized." Dad nods. "The children are doing better with us 3 days a week. Structure makes a difference." "We should have supported your boundaries years ago, Maddie," Mom adds, tears gathering. "I was so afraid of saying no to them that I forced you to do it instead." I reach for her hand, feeling the genuine remorse in her trembling fingers. The family therapy sessions have been grueling, but necessary. Excavating decades of dysfunctional patterns doesn't happen painlessly. Friday evening brings a different gathering to my home. Helen raises her wine glass in the kitchen where I once caught Bradley rifling through my financial documents. To Madeline, she announces, "who taught us all about courage." Christine, whose spare bedroom had been Bradley and Monica's target before mine, clinks glasses with Mr. Jacobson, who presents his signature lemon bars for the neighbor who restored peace to our street. Laughter fills my home now, comfortable and genuine. I look around at this chosen family of integrity, grateful for how crisis revealed who truly deserved my trust. Saturday afternoon, Lucas visits under my parents' supervision. At 12, his face already shows more maturity than his father's. Does it get easier? He asks as we sit on the back steps, telling the truth when people don't want to hear it. I consider his question carefully, remembering my own journey. The first time is hardest, but your voice gets stronger with practice. I present him with a leather-bound journal, watching his fingers trace the inscription. Your voice matters. Sunday finds me kneeling in spring soil, planting roses along the fence line. Boundaries with beauty symbolic and practical. My phone rings. Dad's voice sounds cautious. About next Sunday's dinner. Bradley asked if he could come. I straighten, wiping earth from my hands. Yes, they can come, but just for dinner. The rules still apply. Understood, he says without argument. Such a simple exchange, yet so profound in its respect. As evening settles, I sit on my porch, watching twilight soften the neighborhood edges. In my hands, a letter from Lucas at summer camp. I'm learning to speak up when things aren't right. He's written in careful script. A smile lifts the corners of my mouth as wind chimes sing in the gentle breeze. Some call it stubbornness. I call it self-respect. The difference saved my home and maybe our family.